Hi everybody, I'm Barry B-Man Benning, and welcome to For the Love of the Frame, presented by Film Nobs. Now, today I'll be talking about some bad girls. Talking about some bad girls. Anyway, these bad girls, they're the title characters of the movie Widows, directed by that master of upbeat cinema, Steve McQueen. And truth be told, they're really not that bad. They've just been stuck in a really bad situation and may be ultimately forced to do a few bad things to get themselves unstuck. Widows is the story of four women married to four bad men, members of a criminal gang in Chicago who, in the film's exciting opening scene, have just robbed a considerable amount of money from local drug kingpin Jamal Manning. Now, as our title indicates, so that it's really no spoiler here, our title characters quickly find themselves unmarried, and the loot that their late husband stole gets burned up in the process. And that is just the beginning of their problems. Their husbands' deaths put them all in tight financial binds. It turns out that none of them really had any say over the ill-gotten gains that came their families' ways. The Chicago criminal underworld seems to be a man's game, and the husbands either didn't think far enough ahead or really didn't care what would happen to their wives should something happen to them. So now Linda, played by Michelle Rodriguez, is about to lose the store that she runs because her husband, who technically owned the store, gambled away the money it was still owed on it. Turns out the people that loaned him the money aren't exactly the kind who extend credit. Alice, played by Elizabeth Debicki, she's in trouble because not only is she left without any money, seems like she possesses no identifiable skill sets that will help her claw her way out of the upcoming financial hole. She was physically beaten by her husband and is mentally abused by her mother, who's prodding her to become a high-class call girl as a solution to her financial woes. And even Veronica, the wife of the doomed gang's leader and played by Oscar winner Viola Davis, is going to have some financial difficulties. But she's got an even more immediate and more dangerous problem to deal with. Jamal learns it was her husband who stole from him, and he wants the amount he lost back from her. Because it seems like it's hard out there for a drug lord these days, and he needs that money to help finance a less violent, more old-school criminal enterprise. Yes, he's going to become a politician. Jamal, the drug kingpin, is running for alderman of one of Chicago's districts, and he's running against the son of a longtime political kingpin who's ruled that district for decades. Jamal gives Veronica 2 weeks to come up with the money, or she'll have to answer to his brother, played by Get Out's Daniel Kaluuya, who tends to deal with their family business problems in a more direct, more psychotic manner than Jamal. But something of value does fall into Veronica's hands. Her husband's notebook that lists all the gang's past jobs and connections, and crucially details the next heist they plan to pull. Her husband, by the way, mostly played in flashback by Liam Neeson. So Veronica decides to be proactive and sets off to do what nobody else suspects. She'll carry out the job herself, and with that money, get out from under the considerable weight hovering over her. Well, not just over her. She's going to need a crew to pull this off. So she attempts to recruit the rest of the widows, and she'll need to be just as cold, just as cutthroat as her husband was to convince them that it's in everybody's best interest to come along for this ride. Widows has got a lot on its plate. Not only is it part heist movie and part revenge movie, it's also got some things to say about such weighty issues as gender, race, and political corruption. And as far as I'm concerned, the only area that it really scores points in is in the corruption angle, and that's really not the focus of the plot. Actually, there's not much focus of the plot at all. There's a lot of potential there, but the movie feels disjointed, convoluted. There isn't much flow to the story, and we kind of find ourselves lurching from scene to scene. And we really don't get to know these characters very well. We don't get to learn what makes them tick. The widows, they come across more as sketches than they do as identifiable people. And it's usually trouble when the supporting characters have more depth than the film's title characters. And it's really not so much depth there. It's just that the supporting character sketches, they're simply more interesting sketches. But sketches nonetheless. The only widow that rises above the level of caricature is Alice, and I think that's more due to Debicki's solid performance than to anything attributable in the script. That script, by the way, co-written by director McQueen and mystery thriller writer Gillian Flynn, who's had a couple of recent successes with Gone Girl and the television miniseries Sharp Objects. Now, both of those were based on her own novels. Here, she's helping adopt a 1980s British miniseries from Prime Suspect writer Linda DePlant. Widows has already been adapted into an American miniseries back in 2002. That starred Mercedes Ruehl and Brooke Shields. And I haven't seen either one of those, but I kind of wonder if the extra time available in the miniseries format might help clarify some of the characters and smooth out some of the choppy storytelling that we find here in this feature. But even if extended length did help in those areas, I've got even bigger problems with the script. For one, the build-up to the actual heist isn't done particularly well. And sure, we get to see them run around and get items that they'll need, and we watch them case the intended target, but I think one thing that helps make a good heist movie successful is learning a little bit about how the job's supposed to go down itself. Because knowing some of those particulars, that helps create tension and suspense when those carefully planned things that we learned about don't go as planned. Another big problem for me, maybe the biggest, is that a lot of what some of these characters say and do don't seem to be particularly logical or motivated, or even plausible at times, particularly in the Veronica storyline. And that's about all I can say about that without going into potential spoilers. Again, I don't know if the blame here lies more on the original teleplay or if it belongs to the adaptation from Flynn and McQueen. As far as McQueen's direction is concerned, before this movie, he was batting 3 for 3 in features, at least as far as a lot of people were concerned. And it's not like he exactly swings and whiffs here, at least with his work in the director's chair, but it's not really anything terribly distinguished either. Although, I will have to say, there's a scene here, a single take scene that follows a car ride from a poor section of the district, and it follows it a few blocks over into a much more affluent section of the same district. And that scene is very smart, very effective, and it's probably the best scene in the entire movie. As I said earlier, there are good supporting performances here to go along with Debicki's bigger role, including a feisty turn by Robert Duvall as the angry, gruff patriarch of a political machine that's ruled over this predominantly minority district for ages. And at 87 years old, Duvall can still command the scene better than most of the young whippersnappers out there. But the real standout for me is Colin Farrell, who plays Duvall's son. He really doesn't want any part of continuing this family tradition, but he just can't say no to all the potential money that position is going to provide. And the Duvall-Farrell plotline in this movie, a lot like the Drago plotline in the just-released Creed 2, in that we've got a complex father-son relationship that winds up being more compelling than the actual main story arc. And so, with that, my relationship with Widows has run its natural course and can go no further. After starting off in an exciting and thrilling manner, like a lot of marriages, just kind of petered out. I couldn't make much sense of what it had turned into, so I am going to divorce myself from Widows. And I'll give it exactly what I'm looking at behind the camera at this very moment. 2 knobs. And, as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. You know, guys, at least I didn't call out a hit on the movie, right? Ah, killing me. You see, you kill me. Widows, you're killing. Crap.